Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth episode in my Black Desert Fresh Start series. Now, I did promise at the start of the week that I had big news on where I was standing with my goal for the first week of my account, which was to earn in excess of 1 billion silver. And the main reason for this is because I'm not going to have any artisans, because the market's completely dried up when it comes to enhancement materials like sharps and hards. I just want to buy gear. That's the only way that I'm going to progress quickly, is if I buy gear. Simply spending time farming the amount of sharps and hards that I would need and then farming the scrolls for memory fragments or buying them off the marketplace was just not going to be quick enough for me, and it wasn't going to be cost efficient enough. So I sat down on Sunday night and had a thought about what I was going to do and how I was going to make money. Now, I'd been grinding prognal bars and doing red battlefield, which gives 6 million per win and 4 million per loss, and I was doing those for about an hour before I got incredibly bored. I decided that I was going to take a risk, and enhancing for profit is always a risk. Now, if you turn to accessories, that risk is a lot higher than if you do it on armor pieces, purely because of the fact that you don't just repair the accessories, you have to completely replace any of the accessories that you lose. So you're essentially, on a failed enhancement, throw money away. Now, I'm going to show you where I started with 120 million, and I'm going to run through the enhancements that I did, the probabilities, or at least the percentage chances, the stacks that I used, and also the overall total of money after each session of enhancing. Now, I do want to put out a disclaimer for you guys. This is not something that I recommend new players to do. It's definitely not something that I recommend you to do when you're completely new to the game, when you're looking to make some quick money, because I've spent a lot of time enhancing. Now, I didn't grind at all from Sunday evening right through until today. It's currently 5:45 in the evening on Wednesday, and I haven't done any grinding at all. All of my income has come from enhancing, and I've probably played around 4 hours a day for those last 3 days. All of that has been spent in Velia enhancing, with the exception of leveling one character to 55 for fail stacks. But anyway, let's take a look at the first round, where I started with that 120 million and how things went. Okay, so what you're seeing on screen is a very basic spreadsheet that I've been using to track my enhancements. So I started off with 120 million and I bought 13 base Seraphs from the marketplace. I noticed that there were very few, if any, duos listed on there. Now, at 18 fail stacks, you can get a 70% chance to go from base to pry, which makes it relatively safe, or at least you'd like to think so, when enhancing bases to pry. And then, providing that you go at a fail stack of 40, you can have a 50% chance to go to duo. So overall, playing the percentages with enough numbers, I figured that more times than not, I would end up coming out better off in terms of getting to duo. And that can be seen pretty clearly from this one. I started off with 13 bases, and I ended up with 3 duos. So the 13 bases costed me 114,400,000, and then the 3 duos sold for 390 million. So after the costs, which were the essentially just buying the base Seraphs, I came out with 234 million in profit, and that gave me a total bankroll of 390 million. Now, the problem is that I'd used my free fail stacks at this point, which meant that I then had to start shelling out money to buy stones. And buying stones for building fail stacks is an absolute nightmare. So I'm going to put the footage in the background of me building these fail stacks as well for you to see. Now, to do this, I just used rebluff armor pieces. I decided to get both a weapon and a piece of armor to plus 14. Now, the beauty of rebluff is it has the same percentage increase, or the same enhancement percentages as boss gear, which means going from 14 to 15 proves to be a nightmare most of the time. However, rebluff does for some reason also have a tendency to pop on random fail stacks. But I only needed to get to plus 18s, and that's a relatively safe stack to hit on rebluff. Now, what I'll do as well is I'll link my fail stacking guide in the description, and again, it'll pop up on screen in that exclamation mark. If you're not familiar with fail stacking and enhancing, then that's definitely something to check out. But anyway, that was the first round. It went well, so I decided from this point, right, I've now got a lot more money to invest. I can now buy a lot more bases, which means theoretically this should scale up exponentially. I should be able to play the numbers, enhance as much as I possibly can, and taking out the fact that I'm having to buy armor and weapon stones now, providing that I don't need to buy too many, I should still be profitable. And that leads me into the second round of enhancing. Now, the second one was interesting. So I had a relatively good fail stack, and I decided that in my infinite wisdom I was going to go for try attempts, try selling for 4 times the price, realistically I needed to succeed on one try out of 4 duos and I would at least break even, or roughly on what my profit would be. Unfortunately, things did not go to plan, so I bought 29 bases at 255,200,000 silver. From there I ended up with 5 duos. That was 650 million if I'd have sold the duos there and then. However, I decided in my infinite wisdom, like I said, I would go for try, and I ended up with 1 try attempt out of 5 duos. This was not good. My greed had got the better of me and I'd essentially set myself back. I'd ended up wasting a lot of time enhancing, I'd spent a lot of money on blackstones from the marketplace, and making only 90 million after all of this seemed like a little bit of a waste of time. The reality being is that if I'd have just done progno bars or done RBF, chances are I'd have made the same kind of money. So I decided at this point I was going to stick to duos, I was going to learn from my lesson, and I was just going to purely invest my money into bases and from base go to duo. This was relatively straightforward because even taking a risk at lower fail stacks and using 30 stacks, I felt like it was quite easy to achieve this. However, to get these 30 stacks, I was going to be using costumes. So I was going to be sniping costumes off the marketplace, turning them into Vextcry and using Reblath to build a 20 stack, adding 10 Vextcry to this and then enhancing on a 30. This gave me roughly a 44% chance or a 41% chance, I do forget the numbers, to enhance to duo using this method. However, it did also mean that now I had higher costs. Not only did I have the costs of the blackstones, but also of a 80 million costume, which meant that the percentages now had to really be reflective of their chances to enhance, and I needed to do this on a much larger scale. And that leads me to the next round. So unfortunately this time round, after factoring in my costs, I only came out with 90 million in profit. My greed had got the better of me and I'd essentially set myself back. I'd ended up wasting a lot of time enhancing, I'd spent a lot of money on blackstones from the marketplace, and making only 90 million after all of this seemed like a little bit of a waste of time. The reality being is that if I'd have just done progno bars or done RBF, chances are I'd have made the same kind of money. So I decided at this point I was going to stick to duos, I was going to learn from my lesson, and I was just going to purely invest my money into bases and from base go to duo. This was relatively straightforward because even taking a risk at lower fail stacks and using 30 stacks, I felt like it was quite easy to achieve this. However, to get these 30 stacks, I was going to be using costumes. So I was going to be sniping costumes off the marketplace, turning them into Vextcry and using Reblath to build a 20 stack, adding 10 Vextcry to this and then enhancing on a 30. This gave me roughly a 44% chance or a 41% chance, I do forget the numbers, to enhance to duo using this method. However, it did also mean that now I had higher costs. Not only did I have the costs of the blackstones, but also of a 80 million costume, which meant that the percentages now had to really be reflective of their chances to enhance, and I needed to do this on a much larger scale. And that leads me to the next round. A bunch of duo enhancers and also sell a bunch of these as I was going. This allowed me in total to grab 50 base Ceres and create 7 duos, putting me at a bankroll of 910 million in total. This was huge. This allowed me to get very close to that 1 billion goal. Now it's at this point in time that I'm going to consider that this was a bit of a success, because ultimately this was going to allow me to buy the Zarka that I wanted at try. It was going to allow me money to continue to do this if I wanted to, or ultimately it was going to allow me to take the next steps and start investing money elsewhere on the marketplace and then go about my business improving my gear. However, that's not how things played out. So the problem with doing this kind of thing is that you can get very greedy. Now I wanted to not only hit 1 billion for this video, I wanted to completely smash it out the park and show you how I'd managed to make insane amounts of money in the first week of playing. That kind of went sideways, so let me show you what happened. Yep, that's me succeeding to one tap a Basilisk Belt to duo. Now this was going to be the start of my downfall and effectively cost me around 500 million today. I decided that I wanted to really push it and try and scale what I was doing a lot higher. Now the downside of this is that Basilisk belts cost 3 to 4 times the amount of a Ceres necklace, which meant that even failing at Pry was going to set me back tremendously. I got really lucky with this duo, so I thought I'm going to tap this to try. I'm going to make 1.2 million. I'm going to use a soft cap fail stack and I'll be fine. That didn't work out. But then at that point in time, I'd lost enough money that I thought, well, it's a 70% chance I'll get another pry. I'll probably get a couple of pries if I buy 4 or 5. If I buy 4 or 6 bases, I might get 1-2 pries out of that, and hopefully 1 or 2 duos. And that's when I had to stop myself. I failed everything that I was enhancing. I failed 6 straight pry attempts on Basilisk belts. I failed 4 pry attempts on Ceres necklaces. It just wasn't going to work for me, and I ended up throwing away 500 million. Which means that I'm now currently sat on 580 million, which is still a good amount of money for the last 3 days, considering I haven't been grinding at all. However, consider this a cautionary tale. If you are thinking of doing any kind of enhancement for profit, accessories can be incredibly profitable, but it's based entirely off your luck, and the fact that the percentages can be somewhat favourable when compared to other enhancers only really balances out with enough of a sample size. So keep that in mind. If you are going to do something like this, definitely don't do it unless you have the money to invest in a large amount of necklaces or accessories in general. That being said, I really wish that I'd recorded all the fails and my reactions on these Basilisk belts, because I think you would have really enjoyed that. It was hilarious for anybody outside watching, because I was incredibly frustrated and incredibly annoyed. What had been relatively straightforward and the percentages working in my favour all the way through this series really slapped me in the face today and brought me down to earth crashing. That being said, I will continue to do this. I do have some other money making schemes in mind as well that I'll share with you as we go on. I do still have the money to buy my Trizarka, which was ultimately what I set out to do on Sunday, and 3 days to go from what was effectively nothing to over 500 million is still really good, considering I barely had to grind at all. I just did that first hour at the very start to get the initial capital. I hope you found this interesting. I hope it's been informative for you guys. If you do like me updating you on things that I am doing to make money like this, then I'll continue to do it. I'm really thankful that everybody's been following this series, and it's good to see that people are really getting on board with the fact that this is completely free to play, and it's playing from a different perspective and showing people how somebody with my experience over the last couple of years can translate that into rapid progression within the game and share with you every step of the way. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.